In 10 minutes, we're gonna see how to create a daily income and expenses tracker in Excel with many different cool features that we can use, such as whenever we have a income, the values are going to be automatically highlighted with a greenish color. And whenever we have expenses, the values are going to be automatically highlighted with this reddish color. And this is a template for January. And if you want to do the same for February, March, and so forth, you can easily duplicate this spreadsheet in 2 seconds. And another thing is the dates are dynamically updated. Let's say now I'm using here January, but if I want to change to another month, such as February, I can hit enter. And as we can clearly see, all the dates now are set to this new month. And in the first row, we have some calculations that help us know what is the balance for each one of the days of the month. And in the first cell, we have the final balance. And whenever you move your spreadsheet to the right, the first column, as we can notice, will always remain in the screen, because that way you will not lose the reference of the rows that you have. So step by step from scratch, let's see how can we create this template in Excel. Let's go. We can get started with the header. However, I want to skip the first row because this first row is where I want to calculate the final balance for this entire month. So let's go to the cell A2 in the second row. I can have here the title, such as income and expenses. Now let me skip one more row, and in the fourth row, I can have wage, and let's say bonus, that is an award for good performance, maybe it can happen, rental, income, and so forth. Don't want to extend it too much because it will not take too long, okay? So those are the incomes that I'm gonna have. Now I can go to the expenses. Maybe I can have mortgage, utilities, such as water, sewer, gas, recycling. So if you want to specify the utilities a little bit more, you can do so. I can also have groceries and transportation. And yeah, that's it. I don't want to input any other information right here, but of course, you can input all the informations that you need. Let me select those first 3 cells because those corresponding to the income, and I want to highlight those cells here in the home tab with a greenish color because it's easier to identify whether or not I have a income or of course the expense. As the expenses, I want to highlight with a orange or reddish color. Now in between the column A and B, I can click, hold, and drag to the right because that way I can increase the width of those columns like this. Another thing that I can do is in the second row, I can go to the cell B2 immediately after the header. And here I can have the first date that I'm gonna use, such as January 1st of 2025. If you want to use a different date, such as February, March, so forth, or a different year, you can do. It's gonna work. Let me hit enter. As you can clearly see, I got here a arrow, and it's because the size of the column B is not enough to display the entire data that I have within the cell B2. However, let me go to the home tab and date. Let me click here. I want to use more numbers format. Let's keep up with date and then the one that I have, 14 March. Okay, this is gonna give me here a shorter way to see the date. If I bring this, let me just bring this cell to the right at the bottom right corner, click, hold, and drag, just one cell to the right like this. Okay, now in the next cell, instead of we manually use a sequence like I did here, I can use a formula to always return the next day. Equal sign the cell before, that is B2, add 1. Okay, so the day before plus 1, add 1, and then enter. Now I have it automatically return for me always the next day. And if I change here the date, all the other dates are going to follow the same criteria. Let me click in the bottom right corner again, click, hold, and drag to the right, because that way I can have all the months of all the days of January. Let me bring a couple of more cells. Okay, January 31st. Let me show you here a practical example why it's important to use a formula. Let's say now I'm in February. So February 1st of 2025. Look what's going to happen with all the cells. Enter. Yeah. Now all the cells are in the February month. So this is why it's important to use a formula to automate those dates. Let me undo the action. Okay. Now let's go to the number 2 to select the entire second row. And then I can align everything vertically and horizontally and change the font color to a white one and the background to a bluish one. Another thing that I can do here maybe is add some borders, but I think I'm gonna let it away. And let me select the column B, C, D, and all the columns that make up this date. And maybe I can increase the width of those columns. Just click, hold in between one column to another, click, hold, and drag to the right. I think this is enough. Now we have all the incomes and expenses and also all the dates. Oh, something that I missed here. Let me click again in the second row and put everything in bold because it's easier to see. Now let's say as the wage, I can start to fill in the values. Maybe here in January 1st, I got $200. And in January 2nd, I didn't work, so let me skip the cell. January 3rd, $300, and January 4th, $150, and so forth. As the bonus, maybe here in the January 3rd, I got $50. As the rental income, let's say every 7th day of the month, I got $1,500. Now let's fill in here the values for the expenses. However, something that is very important is I need to input the values for the expenses as a negative value to differentiate between the income and the expenses. So mortgage, let's say $2,000. However, negative $2,000, okay? Minus $2,000. As the utilities, minus 100. Groceries, let's say minus $30. Click, hold, and drag. Transportation, let's say minus 100 and so forth. However, I agree with you. Maybe I can forget to use that negative sign before the number. And how can I always keep in my mind that I need to use the negative sign? What we can do is, let me select here all the values that I have, okay? Or before we actually do it, let me click here in the first cell, A1, because whenever we drag the spreadsheet to the right, as we can clearly see, I lost the reference of the rows. I don't know anymore what the 5th row, the 6th row, the 7th row stands for. So let's first fix or lock the first column into the place, how to always remain in the screen. Let me go to the View tab and freeze pangs, freeze first column. Yeah, that's it. Now, whenever you move to the right or to the left, you always gonna keep the first column in that screen. Let me select now all the values that I have, and then I can go to the Home tab. Let's go to the font color and change everything to the green color. And as we can see, everything now is green. However, not everything is a income, so I need to change the negative values into a reddish color. And to do it, let's go here to the accounting, where I have this option. Click and go to more numbers format. I can go to currency, and I can use the second or the fourth option, doesn't matter. I can use the red one, okay? And now let's go to OK. As we can clearly see, whenever a value is negative, it's gonna always automatically be in that red color for us. Let me put here a value for mortgage. Let's say positive 100, enter. The value is green. However, if it's a negative 100, enter, it's red. So this is how we can do it easily. Another thing that we can do is to transform the dataset into a table, because a table has many benefits, and I'm gonna show you. So let me select here everything that I have, and I can go to Insert Table. Let me click here OK. As we can clearly see, Excel add a 4th row, and this is the new header for my dataset, but I don't want to use a header. So what I can do is I can go to the table design and uncheck the header row option. And as we can notice, there is no header anymore. However, I want to take the entire data set and move one row up. So let me click in the 4th row, select everything, right click, and then delete. If you click in the table, as we can see, we have these bluish rows. If you want to change the design, the layout of the data of the table, you can go to table design, because here you have many different styles to choose. Maybe I can stick with this one. Now let's go here to the first row, and finally we can create the calculations that we need. So let's say, what is my balance for January 1st? Equal sign, and then sum function. Double click, 1, 2. Let me select as the range everything that I have in the first column, and then I can hit enter. Okay, $70, a positive result. And if you want, you can also select this entire row and do the same thing as the format. Change the positive to green and the negatives to red. So let me already go to the font color and change everything to green. And here in the currency, I can go to more numbers format, as we did before. Currency, and choose a negative value. Okay, yeah, that's it. Let me go here and show you what is important to use a table in Excel. If I want to input a new information and then I hit enter, as we can see, this new option is already added to the dataset, and I can also add here a new value. The result right now is 70, but if I add here minus 500 and hit enter, the formula is automatically updated for us, and also the range, because the range was like this. And because we add one more row, the range grew one row down. So this is the benefit to use a table in Excel. Now I can click here in the cell B2, click, hold, and drag to the right. And that way I can see the balance for all the days. And if I go to the cell A1, equal sign, sum function, double click 1, 2, and select as the range the formulas that I have in the first row, I'm gonna have the final balance. Let me hit enter. And as we can see, in January, I got a negative $210. But anyway, and remember, if you want to create this same template for other months, you can easily do it. Here in the footer of the Excel, I have sheet 1. If I right click, rename, and put January, this is the January month. However, I can press and hold down the Control key, click in this sheet, click, hold, and drag to the right like this. That way I can duplicate this sheet. Right click here, rename, and February. Now if I go here to the first day, and instead of January 1st, I input February 1st of 2025, enter. As we can clearly see, I'm gonna have new dates for this new template. And to get rid of the values, I can easily select everything like this and then delete. Simple as that. Now I have an entirely new sheet, new month to use. I hope you guys enjoyed this video on how to create a daily income and expenses tracker in Excel. If you have any questions or any suggestions to the next videos, let me know, comment down below, and I see you tomorrow. As every day has a new video, I see you there.